Hear that? That's the sound of a patient whose health data is protected from a cyber attack. And that's the sound of a financial system that's digitally secured from bad actors. Right now, there's an invisible war being fought on a digital battlefield that impacts what we do every day. That's why at Peraton, we do the can't be done to help protect the vital systems we rely on. Because if we don't, the alternative is unimaginable. Peraton.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Direct-to-Video Connoisseur. I am Matt and unfortunately this week I am not joined by Jamie. She had to work. She was called into work. Found out last night and we thought we might try to do the show Thursday, but I have to work Thursday, so thought it'd be easier to do it this way, just do a solo one. So what I'm going to do is 2 short episodes tonight. First we're going to talk about Tekken 2, and then the second one I'm going to look at a TV movie that I watched with my beautiful wife Jen that was a lot of fun called Fatal Vision. But why don't we start here by looking at Tekken 2, and a little bit of background for myself watching or playing Tekken. When I was in college, if my friends Ian and Brett are listening to this podcast, who I went to the University of Maine with, they would be familiar with my Tekken prowess, or as I thought was Tekken prowess. I thought I was a very dominant player at Tekken. I used the Kings, King and Armor King in Tekken Tag Tournament, and there were times where we'd get the whole floor, 5 or 6 guys from the floor would be playing. We'd play a winner stays kind of deal. And one time I racked up close to 100 wins in a row, just kept going, and I thought I was the man. And then one day, I don't remember we were in Portland, Maine, or if we were in Bangor near the University of Maine. But I think we were in a Borders, and somebody found a guidebook on Tekken Tag, and it turned out that the game was not designed well, and that the King's abilities were the game was weighted in favor of their abilities. So my using the Kings actually gave me an unfair advantage. I think even over people that use like Ogre and the Devils shooting lasers, that the Kings were bad. So here I was thinking I was this badass who was just killing everybody. I just had this special ability to play Tekken, when it turned out that no, that the Kings were actually unfair. They had an unfair advantage. And the moment I picked up, I think it was Tekken 4, tried playing with the Kings, I realized like half of the great moves that I loved in there were gone. One of the best, of course, was the giant swing, and both Kings had that ability. They would grab you and swing you, and grab you by the legs and swing you around and toss you, and it would take off half your energy. So you knew, like, they would joke because they'd see my character kind of lunging, like he was going to get you, and so they were like, "Oh God, he's trying to do it," and they try to shoot me if they use the devil against me. But so that was my Tekken Tag, or my experience with Tekken. That was in college back in the late '90s, and when the first Tekken film came out, that's what I was kind of hoping for, was something that played on those sensibilities. And of course, I was disappointed to find out that there were no Kings in the movie, no guys wearing, no Mexican wrestlers wearing tiger masks at all, which was very disappointing. But it had some good elements. The first one, it had had Gary Daniels as Brian Fury, which was okay. He was no Bolo Young in Bloodsport or any of those kind of really bad baddies, even Goro or something like that. He wasn't like that kind of a character, but he was still good. It also had Karihayuki Tagawa as Heihachi, which was a good casting decision. So it had some good parts to it. It had some of the guys, but it was missing some big ones, and that was my main complaint. So I went into this new one with high expectations. One that I really liked was that I saw it had Kane Kazugi as the character of Kazuya, and I like that because Kane Kazuki, his father, Sho Kazuki, is one of the best martial arts actors of all time. And so Kane has been doing pretty well. We really liked him in Ninja 2, Shadow of the Tear. So I was excited to see what he might do as Kazuya in this film. So, with those expectations, I went into this one, and right away, you see Kane Kazuki at the very beginning of the film as Kazuya having to fight his way out of a hotel room. These armed men, I don't know if they're like police officers, SWAT team or whatever, they wake him up. He just wakes up in a hotel room, and suddenly that they're there with guns on him. He starts kicking ass, taking names, taking everybody out, and I'm thinking this is going to really be good. And then he gets, as he's escaping these guys, he gets hit by a car, and a girl or woman gets out of the car and kicks him in the head and knocks him out. He comes to inside this like fenced-in section of an area outside of Tekken City that is controlled by this veteran character actor from Croatia who I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but you'd know him if you saw him. He plays like a Russian gangster and all kinds of things. I think he was a Russian gangster in the M&M commercial where the M&Ms are in a trunk or something like that. Anyway, so this guy puts a bomb in Kazuya, makes him work for him as an assassin or whatever. And it's you get some good fight scenes, but that device, that plot device, was kind of blah. And again, we really don't have any Tekken characters. There's no tournament in this. There's no tournament at all. So that's frustrating for me as a movie fan, somebody who likes that kind of thing, a video game type thing. You really wonder what it even has to do with the movies, other than the fact that you have Kazuya, and then you have his father, Heihachi, comes in at the end, and then Gary Daniels comes in for a brief spell towards the end as Brian Fury. And so that was nice. Brian Fury and Kane Kazuki have a really great fight scene. And that was something I really enjoyed. But it was one fight scene. And again, Kane Kazuki had some really great fight scenes throughout the film. So that was a good part of it. I just didn't really understand what was going on with this storyline. He's captured and he's forced to do jobs. I mean, I don't know. That's not the kind of thing I want for my hero to be doing jobs for somebody because he has to. I want him to find his way out of that sooner. I want him to like take those people out and start working on his own. So that part of it didn't work. Again, we have no tournament. We have no, which is the whole point of Tekken. Tekken is a tournament. It's a fighting tournament, and I don't really care if you already did that in the last movie. Why not do it again? That's the whole point. But it was supposed to be a prequel, I guess. It was supposed to be like the lead up to what the tournament, how it was created. I guess I don't know. So overall, as a movie, it's kind of lackluster. But one of the things that, I went to the IMDb page and I saw somebody reviewed it and they gave it 1 star. And one of the reasons they gave it 1 star was for Kane Kazuki, and that's something that I definitely cannot get behind. I think Kane Kazuki, he really brings it here, and he really brought it in Ninja 2 and the couple scenes he had, especially the really great scene at the end with Scott Adkins. Kane Kazuki is, I don't know if you could say he's as good as his father. I mean, his father was, next level when you think of some of the great ones that he had. Pray for Death, those early ninja movies, Enter the Ninja, the sequel. I mean, he had some great ones. And of course, we think of Black Eagle, right, that he was in with Jean-Claude Van Damme, one of Jean-Claude Van Damme's first, which also Kane Kazuki was in as a young. He must have been 10, I think, in that movie. But so Kane Kazuki, when I think of who could be in the next group to kind of take over for some of these guys, he's only 2 years older than Scott Adkins, so they're around the same age, and he's someone that I could really see doing more stuff. He's someone that I would like to see in more things. The same way I like seeing Scott Adkins in things. And Kane Kazuki doesn't have anywhere near the resume yet that Scott Adkins has. But I mean, I think as a fighter, as an on-screen presence, all of that stuff, I think he could bring it the same way that Scott Adkins did. So that's something that I would really, really like to see. So we'll have to look for what he has next. I don't know if you can't blame this movie on him. And again, the action was well done. It was just that the plot, I don't know. I just didn't know what they were doing with this. And of course, this has more than one screenwriter, which we know is often the death knell for a story in a film. And maybe I shouldn't be complaining too much because there was a decent fight scene every 10 to 15 minutes. It just kind of felt like they were shoehorned in in and around this really bad story. So I don't know what that means either, but so that there's that too. And I guess the main, the guys that I talk about, like Kerry Tagawa and Gary Daniels, aren't in the film much. So that's another thing to think about, that it really, it's leaning on Kane Kazuki, which he does well enough with, but with the story not helping. Now the other thing I want to mention is the director was Waik Kao Sayanada, who's from Thailand, and he's directed some other ones like Ballistic X vs. Sever, but he has another one coming out called Zero Tolerance, which has Scott Adkins in it, that I am really excited about. It's got Scott Adkins and Dustin Gwen, and Gary Daniels, and Kane Kazuki actually is in it as well. So that is something. It's tipped to come out in 2015. It's supposed to be in the theaters on September 1st. I don't know what theaters will get that, but that is something I am excited to see. And it'll be great to see Adkins and Kazuki back again with guys like Gary Daniels and Dustin Gwen. And I thought, Kawasai Ananda, he as a director, I thought he did a great job with a lot of the action scenes. Again, I think he's just, you're working with a script here, a storyline that for me was kind of sauteed in wrong sauce. Again, you're talking about the main guy, that the hero, being forced to do work for somebody else because he's, I don't know. I like the idea of the hero. Maybe like the guy does that, right? He puts the bomb, because he had a bomb inside of him that forced him to do work for this leader, the guy that we're talking about. I think I have the guy's name here. It's let's see here. Rade Serbedja, which I guess is probably not going to help you at all, because you're going to just see him as that guy. He's that guy from the M&M commercial, that guy who plays a Russian gangster in almost every movie. But anyway, so, the moment he wakes up with the bomb in him from this guy, my thinking is I want to see him get out of this. I want to see him get out as soon as he can. I want to see him go in there and start kicking people's asses and move on to the next thing. And instead he's like doing their work. He's killing people for them and stuff like that, which is just, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I don't want my hero killing people. And so now I've got to turn around and figure out, also because he's the hero. Kazuya is the hero, right? He's the one we're rooting for. And somehow I've got to turn around in the next film and see him as a bad guy, as an evil guy. I believe in Tekken, which this is the prequel for, I believe he rapes Jun's mother, Jin, right? Because he's Jin's father. So I have to somehow go from rooting for him in this film to seeing him as a villain in the next film. That part of it didn't really work for me either. So just from a whole standpoint of being a fan of Tekken, but even just trying to make sense of this film with the next film, none of that really worked for me. So yeah, it was that. There was a lot of silliness in this film as well. There's a couple scenes where Kazuki gets cut, or when he needs to have the bomb taken out, he just happens to be living next door to a nurse who has the ability to open him up and take the bomb out. So there's these like tender scenes of her stitching him back together or performing surgery on him that turns the two of them on and leads to lovemaking scenes. I guess, whatever you're into, maybe, I'm sure there's probably a fetish for that, a major surgery fetish. A couple people, like remember TLC used to, before they started hiring whatever, tried to make whatever bad reality show they could, that involves some sort of dealings with people being inappropriate around children. Before they started doing that, now they used to do all those surgery shows. So maybe there's a fetish out there. Maybe the people writing this film had that fetish. They would just love to watch TLC surgery, and it turned them on. Because it didn't really make any sense. I would think after surgery, after getting my arm stitched up or having something taken out of me, I'd probably want to go to sleep. Maybe, sleep it off a bit with the pain. But I guess everybody has their own. There's some other silly things in the movie. They're talking about the main character, the Russian gangster guy, being some sort of messiah or savior for the people in the area that he was controlling. And the woman who's walking around with Kazuki is talking about how why everybody follows him, right? Because he's like, I don't get why people are following this guy. She's like, well, 1 billion people believed in Allah, or 2 billion believed in Jesus Christ. When, of course, Allah is just God. He's the same God as the Christian God. So I thought that was kind of funny. That so 1 billion and then 2 billion all believe in the same God. But I guess maybe in the future we forget. There's like some sort of misconception about who Allah was in the future. We don't understand how religions work in the future. I wanted to get into Gary Daniels. He is our one Hall of Famer in this film. Again, he's not in the film once, but he has one really great fight with Kazugi, which makes his appearance in the film worth it. At the same time, makes you wish he was in it more. I could have gone for maybe one more fight with him, maybe him taking out a few other guys, because the whole idea is that he was in this sect originally. He had been kidnapped by them at one time too, and he escaped. So the Russian mobster guy sends Kazugi to kill Gary Daniels, who was playing Brian Fury. He's reprising the role. Sends him after him to kill him, and then of course he's not good enough to defeat Brian Fury at that time. Fury takes him down, but Fury tells him, I'm the one that can get you out of this. And so he does. He sides with Fury. Fury just appears one more time. Daniels appears one more time, gives him some information on how to escape, and then that's it. We don't see him again. I think it would have been nice to maybe see like another assassin sent after him, after Fury, to try to kill him, and watch Fury take that guy out too. I don't think it would have been so bad. I don't know if they could only afford Daniels for this short a period of time, and that's what they had. But he and Kazugi really got after it, and I think it showed that Daniels really still has quite a bit. I mean, he can still bring it, and I'm excited. Jamie and I this week were supposed to watch a Daniels film, and so hopefully next week we'll be able to get after that. And I'm really curious to see what he's doing. But it was a great fight scene, and it was kind of reminiscent of the ones we used to see from him back in his PM Entertainment days, which was at that time was some of the best stuff out there. You think of, I know Blood Moon wasn't PM Entertainment, but you think of some like Rage. I mean, he brought it back then in the early 90s, and we haven't seen as much of that Gary Daniels lately. We've seen a lot of films where he's got a small part here or there, but we haven't seen a lot of that early 90s PM Entertainment Daniels, and this was a taste of that here. It was only one scene, but it was a taste, and I think for me that was enough to say, I'm excited to see what he's got coming up. And this film that I was talking about, Zero Tolerance, that he's going to be in as well. It'll be very interesting to see what his role is in that. I remember he was in Expendables, and he had a very small part there, but he had a really great fight in that one, as I recall. He was also in that Stone Cold Steve Austin film that was mediocre, or it was really bad, actually. I didn't really like it. I can't remember the name of that right now. Of course, I see so many films here that I can't always remember the names of these movies. That it was something like Hunt to Kill or something like that, I think. They all have like almost the same name, right? They're like Hunt to Kill, Out for a Kill, Did a Kill. Let's see here. Hunt to Kill. It was Hunt to Kill, yes. His character name was Jensen. And that one, he actually, because he and Austin became friends on the set of The Expendables, when Austin was making this film, he called him up and said, hey, do you want to stop in and do some scenes for this? And so he played a baddie. He had a decent fight scene with Austin that he choreographed himself, which was nice to see. But that wasn't a really great one. That was, I think, at the same time he was shooting Game of Death. I think he was shooting Game of Death in Michigan with Wesley Snipes, and Austin called him, so he went over there and did that with him. But we were kind of curious. He was doing some Christian films. We weren't really sure what that was about. I think he was just kind of hanging out in Thailand, doing his thing for a little bit. And now he's got a few right now that are out. That I'm really curious to see. I'm curious to see that they've got him on the marquee. These are Gary Daniels films. They're not like a Stone Cold Steve Austin film or something else that he's just hanging out in. I was trying to think of the last one that we did. Forced to Fight was the last one that he was a star in. And that one wasn't really a good one, right? Because he was kind of playing a jerk throughout the film. That was the one that also had Peter Weller in it. So it's been a few years since we've seen a Daniels-headed one. And seeing him in this film, again, this was Kane Kazugi's film, but seeing him in this one for a brief period, it really made me think, like, wow, we could get that Gary Daniels back. And he did an interview when he was talking about doing films in Thailand and stuff. So he talked about how the shift has happened in direct-to-video action. How in the 90s it was common for producers like PM Entertainment, distributors like that, but producers to put down 10 million, a good amount of money, and just ramp up the action, get the explosions in there, like big car chases, make it as big as possible, which is what we love. That's the movie we love. And now it's about CGI. It's about doing it on the cheap. It's about quick edits. It's about not showing us everything, and about taking a star that might not be a fighter and trying to make something out of them. And if we can kind of get just a little bit back to that PM Entertainment. I mean, this film here, as far as the way it was shot, it was really great. The action scenes were well shot. They weren't too herky-jerky. You got a chance to see things. You could see the fights, see what was happening. They were well choreographed, and all of that worked. And so, that's a good sign about a film like this, even if the story was lackluster and we didn't really know what was going on. And if Gary Daniels is getting himself involved in pictures like that more, let's see if the ones he's putting his name to are having, the ones that he's saying I'm, putting himself on the marquee for, have that same kind of energy to them. Because he can do it. He did it here in this film. We've seen him do it in other ones. We know he's got the capability. He's got the fighting ability. And if guys that are much older than him are still trying to get after it, then we know he's still got it. He's still got a good 10 years left in him to really put out some good ones. And I think we're excited for it. There's no, he doesn't really need to impress us anymore. We know what he can do. We know his rap sheet. We know the ones. We know Blood Moon. We know Rage. We know what he's brought to the table. And so now it's, let's see, now it's, let's see if he can still do it. Let's get one that we really want to see, that we're really excited to see. And this film, at least this Tekken 2, at least it gives you a little hope that next Gary Daniels, that he still wants to do it too. That this is, he's still excited to choreograph good action, and he wants to bring it, and and he's really ready to put it out there. So let's hope that happens. But meantime, we're still chatting about Tekken 2. So I think final words on this one. It's okay. It's not good for Tekken fans. If you're a fan of the video game, you're not going to like this. I think it's for us, for action fans, for direct-to-video action fans, it's sort of a you've got great fights with Kane Kazuki, but I don't know if it's enough. They're good, but they're not. The really most inspired one is the one that he does with Gary Daniels. So you only have one really great one, and then you have that really great scene at the beginning. The film starts off really well. It's got a couple of good ones in there, but for the most part, you're kind of just getting things in fits and starts, and these fits and starts are wrapped around a plot that doesn't work. And also kind of has you saying, what am I doing here? If this is a Tekken movie, it's not really. It's very loosely Tekken, right? It's not, if it's like a story just supposed to be about Kazuya, you could probably do it in a half hour and it would have been fine, right? It's the kind of thing that would have been like a half-hour cartoon if you're doing Tekken cartoons. So that's my advice. I mean, this film is currently available. I think it's, I don't know if Hulu still has a free service or if you have to pay all the time now. I don't know what the deal is with Hulu, but that's where I got this, was from Hulu, Hulu Plus. There weren't any commercials when I watched the film, so at the very least it's free, or if you've got Hulu Plus and you pay that subscription service the same as you would for Netflix, you can get it on there. I didn't see it on Netflix, so it isn't available there. So I wouldn't go too far out of your way, though. It's the kind of thing that if you're kicking around on Hulu and maybe you got an hour and a half to kill, maybe check it out. But otherwise, I would say, not so much there. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play the theme song here. I'm going to cut out this one here, so I'm going to do two parts tonight. So we'll end this first one here. We'll wrap up this one, and then we'll go into part two after I play this theme song. All right, see you in a bit, everyone.
Hear that? That's the sound of a patient whose health data is protected from a cyber attack. And that's the sound of a financial system that's digitally secured from bad actors. Right now, there's an invisible war being fought on a digital battlefield that impacts what we do every day. That's why at Peraton, we do the can't be done to help protect the vital systems we rely on. Because if we don't, the alternative is unimaginable. Peraton.